Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast. This is episode number 82, and we got some fun stuff in store for you. We are not alone this week. We have a guest, and no, it is not the 51-year-old Denise Richards who just started her own OnlyFans. So sit back, relax, and get ready to travel those channels of fear with us. And welcome back. Of course, it's number 82, the episode of the Red River Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Zakreski, joined this week by RedRiverHorror.com founder Eddie Cayazzo. Hi, Ed.
Joe. I'll just turn my mic on. Joe, how are you? I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
You're doing better now that the microphone's on. And hey, we finally welcome back to the show, Steve Feese. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Keystone Retro himself. You hear him talk about me every single week.
We do, because I'm kind of fascinated by collectibles because I have a hard time. I have things I like, but I've never been a big collector keeping things authentic. So we're going to cover some of that today. I got a fun question for the two of you that I dug up on Reddit. We might even, if we have time, we might get another ghost story in.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Just a couple of guys sitting around sweating our butts off.
Yeah.
It's the Red River Horror Podcast.
Drinking hot coffee at 7:40 at night.
The sun coming through.
Don't you love it?
You really do. You really do. So I don't want to be around the bush because we've got some really cool stuff, and I want to talk about that first because that's going to be up. We'll show some pictures of this. Steve, what am I looking at here?
I mean, you're looking at a couple different things here, Joe. So last week, towards the end of your pod, you were talking about some articles that were out there, and Ed brought to the table. I believe you were the one that brought it to the table, Ed.
Yep.
Of a copy of Star Wars, not A New Hope, just Star Wars.
Yes.
On VHS that sold at auction for $75,000.
That's insane.
It is. And Ed reached out to me and mentioned, I got a bunch of these games, or a bunch of these VHSs. I'd love to, see what these are worth. And we started talking about grading because that's essentially what these VHSs are.
Yeah.
So
not to cut you off, but imagine for a VHS, it's probably harder to have, it's got to be wrapped. It can't be watched because that stuff, tapes
Correct.
wear out pretty quick.
Well, it kind of depends because with a lot of these grading companies, if you can put it in a case, if you can find something to grade about it,
okay,
you can grade it.
All right, so if I have a case that's in great condition, but the tape's been watched a few times,
you may want to still get that graded. It's open, it's not sealed. There's going to be different things, maybe a hype sticker. People are really big on a hype sticker, especially from the 80s. How that seal is going to look is going to be a big part of it. Let's just say it's a book. What the spine looks like is going to be a part of that grading. A Pokemon card is going to be the corners, how sharp they are. And I have a few, really just comics is the only thing I've really got into when it comes to grading. So I brought a couple here. And with comics, they're going to look at the whiteness of the pages, how sharp those corners are, if there's any seams. So really a red comic probably isn't going to get a high grade. I have two with me here. So not to bury the lead too much. Again, we'll throw this up on your Instagram and take a look at all this. But I brought two that were kind of horror related.
Yeah. So
first one, the cover especially, is Carnage Red, White, and Blood.
Whoa.
So this is a 9/8. This is a Jack Leeson variant cover.
Wow.
So this is variant cover. Here.
Look at that.
That's a fantastic looking cover.
And for myself, that is really why I like graded comics. And it's the fact that they look nice.
It looks very nice. That's definitely something you'd hang.
I don't like comics, but I would hang that up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another one here, Walking Dead. I definitely would consider it horror, or at least horror.
The comic, definitely, 100%.
And this is Negan Lives, so this is a one-off Negan comic as well.
Nice.
So that was a one-off kind of side series that they did on Negan. I have a bunch, but these ones really I thought made the most sense. But
number one issue, is that what that's?
So then just spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I've never watched anything past I think the first season of The Walking Dead.
Sure.
Does Negan die?
Maybe.
Okay.
it's still going on.
Oh my gosh! All right, so I'm probably never.
I believe this is the second half of the last season coming up.
Okay.
Or maybe the third.
Oh, I thought that wasn't the end.
I think there's still one more piece of it.
Oof. And I'm sorry about this, guys. I just I had to watch the bat scene, so I did see the dude get his brains bashed in with the Lucille, the vampire bat. But that's Negan, right? That's the dad from Supernatural.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's the guy.
Or the comedian from The Watchmen.
Yeah.
Okay.
You never saw Watchmen, did you?
You know.
I finally did at some point. I did finally watch it. You had the HBO thing. I've watched it at some point.
Oh, okay.
It was on there.
Okay.
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to
you're
invoke
fine.
The Walking Dead. It just Negan lives. I'm like, oh, he dies?
Yeah, so yeah, you know, in this he may be dead, and then like this is like, oh, it's in the past. Negan lives, so here's a one-off Negan story that they're gonna throw in there.
That's pretty interesting.
We'll throw that cover up there too.
Yeah, we'll definitely throw this up on the Instagram. But the big thing you guys were talking about was the value of these.
Yeah.
And what this market looks like. And I think of any of this stuff, people talk down on NFTs, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I am pro NFT at all.
Yeah.
But I understand for a lot of people it's collectible. This is a collectible. People buy and resell this stuff that maybe aren't even into comics. And a lot of times that's what happens with these big articles. So I cannot confirm this, and this is all alleged and my own thought. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying that right now. But the company who was the one who graded that VHS, they are completely sold out right now. And I'll say they paused submissions because they have now gotten so many requests for VHSs that they cannot keep up with the demand.
Wow.
So what has happened, and there is I want to make sure I get his name right here. Actually, I know his name is Carl Jobst. He is a YouTuber.
Yep.
And I'd say it's about 6 months ago in the video game market, there was these Super Mario Brothers 3, these games that weren't really that rare a couple years ago, the biggest games of all time, that are probably have a warehouse still sealed somewhere in these United States or in Canada or in really anywhere around the world. And there was ones that were selling for, I think it sold for $300,000 in 2017. And then it sold for $1 million in 2020. And then the last time where it just sold, it sold for $2 million. And that was in 2021. So it was a 6,500% increase in the value within 5 years.
Wow.
What am I doing wrong, man?
Well, what other people are doing wrong
Yeah.
is that they're creating speculation in the market. And that is 100% what is going on. So
That's not, I mean...
So it goes a lot deeper than this.
Yeah.
There's a guy who is a founder of Heritage Auctions, is where a lot of these big ones are getting sold at. And they are working directly with WATA. So the person who had bought this was the founder, a coin dealer from the 80s, and then also a owner of, I believe it was a video game store, and they went in on this together. And what they keep doing is they keep selling it to themselves. So they just keep buying it and reselling it for a higher price to themselves or to a friend. And they did the same scam back in the 80s with coin collecting.
Yes, I actually watched a whole thing on that.
So this goes all into this guy doing this with coin collecting, and now he's doing it again with video games.
Wow.
So it's Super Mario 3?
I think it might have been the original Super Mario Brothers that was like the big one that went for $2 million. But like all of those, anything that has a name that like,
yeah, they're
Pac-Man or
Right.
like you're going to get a lot more people who are going to want to own a super rare version of Mario Brothers than
they manipulate the market to make it more valuable than it actually is.
Yeah. So then what also happens is
it's basically what NFTs are.
So now everyone's going to WATA
Yeah.
to get their games graded because there's this value, and it, like anything, we're just waiting for that bubble to bust. And there's a lot of that going on. Personally, I do buy and resell. If you've gone to my website, you'll see that I don't have anything up there, but I am selling a lot of records currently and doing some stuff on Whatnot. Really cool platform. We could probably spend an hour talking about that, but
yeah,
basically it's live auctions. So like you're running your own auction house.
Yeah,
So,
you explained it to me before, and it's like, is this just anybody can sign up and do it, or do you kind of have to have some kind of credibility?
So it was invitation only as first. Now they're getting a little bit more loose, which is why I've kind of slowed down from that. And I started going back traditional ways, eBay, stuff like that. I'm selling some of my records on a thing called Discogs. Just a whole another platform that's specifically for...
You got to find me on Discogs. I'm actually on there.
Okay. You got to find me.
No.
Keystone Retro.
Oh, I can do that.
That's pretty easy.
That's pretty easy. I can do that.
So, really cool platform, but essentially that's kind of the state of the market right now.
Okay.
And you were talking about this. WATA was working with Heritage Auctions, so now WATA is backed up. But then again, cards are crazy right now. Comics are crazy right now. So anything you can get graded, people are now grading, like concert tickets and books. Anything that you can encapsulate and say this now has an intrinsic value, and there's one of these in the world at whatever sort of grade. You're making one of one things in some cases.
So like my Genesis ticket from December, it's like their last tour.
If it looks nice, it's pristine. It's from let's just say something that might be from Madison Square Garden. Might have more value than something from
Wells Fargo Center.
The Wells Fargo Center,
or
Hershey Park Stadium, or something like that. But it's also what value can you drive into this? So do you want it for yourself? For me, these are for myself.
Okay.
I like looking at these. These are going to be on a shelf. Maybe I'll sell them someday.
So
Maybe I won't.
I only ask that because literally Wells Fargo Center sold like that. And in this COVID world, I'm like, they're not going to add a second show. And so we're like, all right, well, maybe let's go to the Madison Square Garden one.
Sure.
And it's just like, no, well, they added a second show. But we ended up getting tickets to the first one. But I was thinking, like, well, how cool would that be to see Genesis for the last time at Madison Square Garden? But we did.
So even so, right now, it probably would only have value to you.
Okay.
But maybe in 30 years, when now it's rarer, let's just say it's a Genesis ticket from 1982 from the Forum or Wachovia Spectrum, torn down Spectrum. So now people are buying it for the nostalgia of the Spectrum. Buying it for the nostalgia of maybe I was at that show. My parents always told me I was conceived in the parking lot at that show, and it's like it has some sort of value,
right? Like if I had a ticket from like the Flyers versus the Soviet Union, in 1976,
and it was in good condition. You had it sitting there. All right, I'm going to send that out, get it graded. And now it's encapsulated in this real nice thing that you can put up on a shelf, put it on one of those picture ledges. That's what I do with my comics. I just use a picture ledge.
So, Steve, I didn't mean to take it off the rails there, sir. What you're saying is, if you have bringing this, you brought some of your horror artifacts with you. So this Heritage Auctions guy. Now, this is again, we're speculating.
Yes.
No slander here. We're speculating that this Heritage Auctions guy is driving up the prices with this Waka. So can this WATA or Waka can they get in trouble now? So now they're getting all this business. So say they just come out and say, we screwed around with it. So what?
I will say this without burying the lead. I get nothing out of this. I would suggest, if you are more interested in this, watch the documentary.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not only for you, but also for the listeners as well, because I can probably not speak highly enough to it. And this is someone who put hours of work into an hour-long documentary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, no, because that's the thing. And Joe, you know this about me better than anyone. So like I think, Steve, of like I see a story like that last week and I immediately just think of you, and now all of a sudden you in my life are that expert. It's just like,
sure,
Ed, you do have Google. It's just like, yeah, I know, but like this is your thing. It's like, yeah, but you do. So like, you know, because I all of a sudden I dub Steve the expert. Just like, yeah, okay, but yeah,
and it's fine as well. I was with our friend of the show, Jeffrey Mitchell, yesterday.
Oh yeah,
and his son is very into Star Wars right now.
Nice.
And we got him a Darth Maul figure. He's like, yeah, what's the best? No, this was Saturday. I'm sorry, but
not to say that kid he got a Darth Maul figure and then went to a Union game right afterwards.
I mean, Saturday and a Sunday. But yeah,
it's a good weekend.
Yeah,
good for him.
He was swimming in a pool, asking people to what's the best Darth Maul, and it's like, I got it for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Only buy a Darth Maul figure. But I do know what is going to be in a realistic price range for a 10-year-old that's going to break it. So yeah, let's keep it somewhat in a price range. But I will say, so we were just kind of talking about collectibles in general. What I brought is just to kind of show you guys like really what's out there in horror, because like any genre, I'm into a lot of things. Horror is very nerdy. People like to collect things, whether it's VHSs, whether it's whatever. And then even things within there. So probably the biggest company within this is NECA right now that has a lot of horror licenses. So they have everything from Universal Monsters to Godzilla, King Kong, not really horror, but we've talked about that before.
Oh yeah.
All the way up to Trick or Treat and everything in between. One of them I brought here was one of maybe my favorite Halloween movies.
Oh man,
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Oh, look at that. That's
Great
so
movie.
Beautiful. What's inside it, Steve?
Well, inside is the Trick or Treaters.
Are they full figures?
Oh
wow.
my gosh.
With the TV.
The TV that
and the deteriorated masks.
if you turn it, it goes to the Shamrock.
So just to describe this.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we're going to put the big promotional picture up there on Facebook or on all those places. But anyway.
And that's NECA, NECA?
NECA, I believe it is the National Entertainment Collectibles Association.
Cool.
I think that is what that stands for.
So for those listening, if you're in the car, what we're looking at is the skeleton guy on the left, the witch in the middle, and the pumpkin head on the right.
Sir.
All the silver Shamrock masks, and then they have the deteriorated ones under them. As Joe said, the TV. I mean, this is pretty cool.
This is a really cool collectible.
Yeah, and I got a little Chucky here as well. This is also NECA.
Yeah.
But what I really wanted to show off, and I brought some of these just to show some of this is all actually a good bit of this is all NECA, but there's so many different brands putting things out. So no matter what you collect, so someone who wants that nostalgia of the kind of those Star Wars figures from the early 80s.
What language is that?
And that is Japanese. So
okay,
that's the
that was going to
Japanese.
be my guess, but it didn't sound like
The Japanese poster there of Ash, Evil Dead. So I brought a bunch of Evil Dead here just to show like how many different lines they have of the same figure. So this is
like Ghouls Night
there's
Out.
a little Ghouls Night Out there for the Misfits. But this is made by NECA. This is an Ash. These are more of a
That's a good one.
kind of comic-y variation of it.
Toony Terrors.
Toony Terrors.
I like the way that looks.
Also Evil Dead 2. This is going to be more of that expensive $30 range.
But I like
Ash
how
figure.
like the heads and
Different
neat.
heads, different things.
Now, Steve, I got to ask before we go further. You have
Great
a few
box,
more
too.
here.
Yeah.
So I've avoided these specifically. I'd love to have a room to display this stuff.
Of course.
Especially when Joe, we're finally going to get settled in both of our places.
Yes.
As a great place to, like a studio to record the podcast. So I want to display that as we
For
get
sure.
more visual. But what's held me back is I'm the type of person that I want to resell that when I retire. So is that when you go into this and you purchase pieces like this, is your goal ultimately to resell, or do you want them for you? What motivates you here?
I think there's a 50-50.
Okay.
So I do think that there's some, like, this is my actual Evil Ash from Army of Darkness with a broken hand from when I was, 10 when I bought this.
Wow.
because it's out of the box.
This is out of the box. And I actually have the matching Ash, which is in
In the box.
in the box, but in a very bad box, which, Let's just do it here while we're talking.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh, he's taking it out of the box. He's opening the box.
Oh no! Oh no!
That is $80,000 down the drain.
Steve, didn't
So
you
for
see
this-
40-year-old virgin?
Exactly. But for this one, this is for me. Beat up box.
Yeah.
I want this out of the box. I want this sitting
You're
on
going
the
to
shelf.
display the two of them?
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. So display the two of them. The nice little Army of Darkness back thing there.
Oh man!
Great Ash figure. But essentially, what I'm saying is, there's no matter what you're into. We can even get into the Funko Pops, which is like a whole other thing. Like,
Yeah.
If you're into anything hard, there's so many collectibles out there, from figures to comics of your favorite horror piece, collecting VHSs, and right now, like this is when the market is hot, but there's a little speculation there. So is
Really?
this a real market, or is this
Is it inflated?
is it inflated?
Interesting. I mean, it's been a couple of years. I'd imagine
Yeah.
a lot of like the online trading, eBay, like a lot of shipping really boosted.
Shipping boosted. Well, what is also driving a lot of classic demand? So like vinyl. Vinyl is very high right now, but that is because all the other the plants are pretty much backed up.
Right.
So people are not buying new stuff, or a lot of new stuff's getting pressed, but maybe
Right.
a year out you're not getting a lot of repressing and stuff like that. So that has been a big aftermarket of stuff that just came out maybe like
Okay.
a year or two ago,
Yeah.
just because supply chain and plants and
So it goes.
COVID.
Not much different than cars.
So what I'm thinking of doing is anything that I buy, I want to sell when I'm 67.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. So I have
Why are you waiting so long?
just because at that point I don't want to have a job.
Yeah, I would hope maybe a year or two before that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, like in my retirement,
Yeah.
I could be doing this. Like so.
Sure.
So in other words,
Sure,
I
okay.
wouldn't be my brain wouldn't be dormant. You know.
Gotcha.
What I mean?
I'm very much of a mindset that as much as I have a lot of junk, I don't want to leave junk for someone else to worry about when I'm gone.
Yeah.
The inevitable thing, like we all know, like I'm gonna be gone someday.
Sure.
So I don't want to leave all this junk for someone. So like, some of this I'm gonna get rid of as it goes along, and I would hope by the time I'm in my 60s that it's more of a secondary fascination. That I've
Yes.
kind of got rid of a lot of that stuff. I'm a little more.
I was always surprised because Eddie's dad was a big collector of ham radio.
Yes. Ham radios, transistor radios, yeah, all that stuff.
All that stuff. And then it's all gone now? Almost all gone?
It's he's definitely kept a nice pile to himself. Like you could,
He's not that old yet.
yeah. If you go into the basement, you'll see he has his
Something
his
for
babies
himself.
Yeah.
still, but
And I think I would always like be that way.
Yeah.
Like even
Yeah.
into my whatever 70s, 80s, God willing, I think I'll always have like a couple pieces that are
for you.
They stay.
Yeah. So that's my goal is at 67 I want to flip so I do believe if you have a record collection, Steve, I don't know how you feel about this. I do believe if you have a record collection, I did not start probably until 2014 when they released the 30th anniversary. Oh my gosh, it was 40. No, 30. Van Halen's 1984.
Okay.
I never owned that CD. I never owned that cassette. And my dad gave me a record player. I'm like, you know what? It's pressed on that 180 gram vinyl. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm buying this album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. So that led to the first record store day that I attended. So then I got a limited edition Doors Strange Days album. So what I was doing is it's like, okay, if I'm going to get an album on vinyl, it's something that I can't have already in my collection. Because being a DJ, I have a ton of CDs.
That's a fair rule to just kind of set up for yourself.
Yeah.
And it helps not getting too far into it as well.
Right.
You set up a rule, and I do agree with rules to any collecting. You should have some breaking point or it gets crazy.
So what I did was, I've slowly been accumulating this record collection.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is if it's a new record, I'll slit the end, but I'll leave everything else intact.
Yeah.
But
I do
rule,
the same.
So another rule is, one, if I'm going to buy it, I can't already own the album on CD, tape, whatever. Two, I have to listen to it.
I do. I have a lot of records, but I'll say I stick to that rule 85% of the time. There are a couple things that I bought, like Prince Purple Rain, and it was like super cheap. It was like $10 or something. It's like, all right, I'll put this in the collection. I don't need to flip on Purple Rain. Bad example. I have listened to Purple Rain, but something like that. Sometimes I won't listen to it. I bought a Beatles box set, their entire catalog. It's a lot to listen through. Something like that I won't. But
yeah.
Usually, if I have if I buy a standalone LP, I want to listen to it before it goes in the collection.
Sure.
Okay, that's a prereq.
All right, cool. So that's not a bad, because
I think those are good rules.
It's just like, well, if you're going to collect them, then, and if you're going to buy them new, then keep one freaking sealed. Keep them sealed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's music.
I always struggled with that when I was like, you got to keep it in the box. Like when I was getting when I was getting Loot Crate, and it's like, well, you can't take the Funko Pops out, but it's like I had them in my office at work, so I was like, no, they're kind of coming out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these are all toys.
They're
toys, they're comics, they're
I actually ended up giving them all
or
to
whatever.
my niece, and
exactly.
Yeah.
Is there value to it? Sure, you can make value to anything.
yeah, I don't know how much value like Funko stuff, or how much stuff from a Loot Crate's gonna have. Maybe
And super mass produced over and over and over again.
Right.
It's gonna have something like that. And I was into Funkos at the time and would pay attention to that market. At that time, when it would first hit, you would have that like initial bubble.
Yeah.
It's new, everyone wants it. Oh, I really wanted that figure, and the only people that have it are from this Loot Crate. And then 6 months later, well, Loot Crate found 150 of them, and we're trying to get rid of them for $10 each.
It's really fascinating because like the collectors, so in certain research, they're saying that like that's the reason why values of figures and other like toy items don't have the same value that they used to when you save them, because of how mass produced they are.
Correct.
Like if I have a G.I. Joe from 1964, like 64 or 74, like it's not like in the box, like that's like way up there. Whereas if I still have like the G.I. Joes that were out when I was a kid still wrapped, it's like, nah.
The biggest like kind of speculative, I'll keep using that word, was the 90s Star Wars figures.
There's a good one.
Those were so overproduced.
Yeah.
You can go into any secondhand toy store, collecting store, whatever, in the country right now, and you could probably get the majority of them for like $5, $10.
Steve,
like
are you talking about the episode 1 figures?
I mean, the episode 1, but even I'm thinking more Power of the Force and Power of the Jedi.
Are you still sitting on some episode 1 stuff?
No, I sold it.
Those the N64 Pod
say,
Racer edition?
I was gonna say I know a kid who's really into episode 1 and told me that Jar Jar Binks carried Qui-Gon Jinn in every scene they were in together.
Is that still Ben?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. We
he was made.
We're gonna have a talk.
we gotta have a talk with this
Jar
kid.
Jar was made for kids, right? That was
he's 10 years old.
Yeah, they're Ewoks.
Yeah. Right.
And I didn't
for
accept that at first, and then remember, I did that rewatch before.
So
Yeah.
The episode 1 thing, here's the problem. So I got rid of that in an estate sale type thing. It's just like,
Gotcha.
Here's the box of stuff, and here's what it'll get you.
Yeah.
$60. So,
Not for the N64.
No, the N64 I got. I think I got 185 for the N64. No, I bought that for $40 at Boscov's.
Okay.
On the way out, like all the next generation of video games were out, and this was sitting on the floor in high school when I was walking through Boscov's. We used to go to the mall. It was $40. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
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 So I kept it in the box. It wasn't graded or anything like that, but I flipped that. I think it was for 180 or 185.
Yeah.
That's not bad, right?
When was this?
Oh, 2010, 2011.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's great. Now, right now, that's probably worth like $700.
Kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I sold my Dreamcast for $150. That's probably worth a lot more now.
Are Dreamcast holding up?
I think so.
God, you know what I always wanted with the Dreamcast? I wanted it so bad was the Dreamcast with the gun and House of the Dead 2. Because I love playing that in the arcade, and I wanted to play it at home all the time.
Yeah.
You got to do one of these with video games.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to our friend of the show, Devin Milbrand. We need to get him out here, but we were just talking The Last of Us and Resident Evil, and
we tried to get when the Resident Evil launched. We tried to get them on. Maybe maybe it's because Resident Evil. Here's my thing. Not to go off on a whole tangent here, but Resident Evil, I liked 1, scared me. 2, scared me. 3, I don't remember playing that much.
Talking about the video games?
Yeah, but 4, I loved.
It's 4 Nemesis.
I don't know.
I think it may be.
Yeah, and after
off the top of my head,
Code Veronica.
Yeah. Code Veronica for the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Yes. I liked that. I couldn't tell you. I don't know the story.
There's a lot now, dude. There's
I mean, The Last of Us, and I brought it up on the show before, is I was Joe Griffin popped it in, like it just finished, however long it took to. I don't own newer systems. I keep it classic. But how long it takes to load the game up? I'm like, wait a minute. He's just like, I've been waiting 6 hours. I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Had to install it to your hard drive and then download the update that already came out even day one.
Yeah. And he flips it on, and I think the opening scene was like 20 minutes long.
It's insane.
And was like intense. It was intense.
You're watching a movie.
Yeah.
And it's going to be we could save it for, there's an HBO show coming out very soon. With
very soon.
What is it? Mandalorian? What is his? Pedro Pascal?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, the Last of Us TV show coming out soon, so I'm pretty hyped for that, even though I've never played a second of the game. I only saw the opening scene.
I'm playing it right now. And we can talk all about that.
Yeah, I tried out the last horror video game I tried out that was newer because we got the Stadias, so I got the free sample, the demo of Resident Evil Village.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
And I was playing that in my house before we were living in it when it was still empty.
Yeah,
and there was no floors and stuff, and it was dark, nice, and I was just like, creepy. I'm gotta leave.
Yep.
So that definitely got me pretty good.
So I guess we can pivot. We're going to put a picture of all this. We got the Halloween through NECA.
Yeah, I was going to say we found that Stadia on Reddit, which is a perfect segue into what we were talking about at the top of the show.
Oh yeah, you ready to take a question from Dreddit?
Yes.
Yes. But we'll get this all up on the social media.
I love it.
I do.
Check it out.
It's beautiful.
Give me a follow, and if you have questions, check it out. I see notifications when someone visits my website from whatever city they're from or whatever, and we get a lot of organic hits on Mondays and stuff. So I know there's people out there checking. Hit me up.
Very cool. For sure. Just go KeystoneRetro.com.
KeystoneRetro.com.
And you can find them on Instagram, Keystone Retro.
Maybe there's an underscore, but
is it Keystone _Retro?
I think it's Keystone _Retro.
Retro. And then you don't do it on the Twitters, right?
I'm on Twitter. I follow mostly on there.
Yeah.
I basically follow. I don't post a lot.
And here's the last part of it. If you go there and you want to buy something, put in the code Red River at checkout, save 10%. Steve, I know it's
and if you don't see anything but you want something, hit me up and I'll give you 10% off.
If you let him go hunting something you like doing,
that is true. Or if there's something you're looking for,
I'll give you a discount to let me do something I want to do.
Exactly, and
need a reason.
Gives me an excuse to do something on a Sunday.
I like that a lot.
Thank you, Steve Feese.
I think we'll have to do that. We'll have to break the camera out and go do some a little flea market run.
That'd be fun.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You know who's got a great camera?
Who?
Devin.
Yeah, he does.
Damn it, Devin.
Elusive.
We need to get him on the show.
Elusive.
And we need his camera. All right.
Elusive. Well, you'll like what he's been doing. He's been rebuilding with that RX-7.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's gorgeous.
So,
He's putting a Chevy engine in it.
He's taking out the rotary?
Yeah, he's putting an F-150 engine on, or
What?
I think something like that. Like it's some sort of Chevy truck engine.
The rotary's great, man, but it's expensive to fix.
Yeah,
like
and that's the thing.
But that's what makes it so special.
I know.
But he knows what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know shit about it.
Neither do I. I just acted like it did after Fast and the Furious came out.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Question from Reddit that popped up today, and this is from user Multiforms. How do you all imagine the Blair Witch looks like? So what do you think the Blair Witch looks like? And what they said is, to this day, no other movie stayed on my mind as long as the Blair Witch Project, mostly because of the marketing surrounding the project, which was just brilliant. Agreed.
Yes.
Now, the movie doesn't show shit, and you're left trying to imagine just what in the hell was messing around with those people out in the woods. Rewatching it recently, I'm kind of mad because you never really see the bitch during the whole movie, and I need that closure in my life. Now, there's a popular theory that there was no witch, and the guys were planning to kill Heather the whole time. But from the creators of the movie, there was always a witch. They created an entire lore for the witch and a diary for the main character that hints at the witch is actually luring Heather into the woods. I just need another Blair Witch movie that actually shows the witch, and after that, I can die in peace.
So this is a fantastic one. I'm glad that you asked this, Joe.
Yeah.
Because
that'd be fun.
This ties in with everything. We should have started with this. So the same movie line that this evil Ash is from, that the Ash figure that I ripped open is from, is Todd McFarlane. So those are Spawn figures. So these aren't NECA. These are actually from the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. Todd McFarlane, Spawn, all that.
Yes. I have a Michael Myers
Pretty
one.
cool
Yeah.
stuff.
So Movie Maniacs.
Yes.
They did a Blair Witch.
Did they?
They did. So that is what I've known this forever because I was into this even back then. This is mine from my childhood.
Sure.
So there is a figure of the Blair Witch.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, we
Can you
post that as well. I'm pulling it up right now.
Pull that up, because what I always thought in the movie is that there really was no physical witch. It was more like a spirit of the woods.
I do think that's the actual truth.
Yeah.
That is my actual opinion on it. But
And I've read somewhere that there was an intention to have it in there, but it wasn't in the budget. Well, that's really terrifying. If that was in,
That's
if
pretty
that was in the
terrifying.
movie, it would have taken away from it.
Yeah,
but
that would
I
have been
agree.
good.
I agree. I think I do think that they were just intending to kill her or something of that nature the entire time.
So Ed and I had this experience. I don't know if you heard us talking about it on one episode, which we still haven't gotten Dan on for. It's like we were just back the woods here, and it felt like something was following us.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, like looked up, and there was like I mean, I swear to God, it looked like there was something there, and then we got booked it, and then it was over there, and it's like this. It was like the same exact shape. It was bizarre.
The crazy thing is, though, like the scariest part about the whole thing is there was snow on the ground. It was January. All the trees were stripped, and we all came to the realization at the same. It's just like it was almost like a movie moment. We all kind of look up, and there's just this black
That's
figure
terrifying.
in one, and it literally got all of us, even the people that don't, not you and I, but even the people who've since said, "What the hell are they talking about? That didn't happen." It did freaking happen.
Yeah.
It happened. So that's when I think of the Blair Witch. That's actually what I always think of, like coming like a shadow figure.
Yeah. I could see that. Obviously, this figure, I've that's been in my brain for 20 years. So as soon as you start saying this, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
It's really cool looking. It's very Spawn looking.
Yes.
Like a
It is definitely, you can tell, is designed by
yeah.
the Spawn creator. And there was some weird figures they did in like the late 90s that be like Twisted Wizard of Oz and stuff. They do like weird horror figures, and they were just like making up their own like almost like Hellraiser type of characters.
Well,
Like Suffering Bob, and it's just like big fat guy with his nipples being ripped out by some demon, and like stuff like that.
yeah. I don't know if you were aware, because Disney no longer holds the licensing on the copyright on the image of Winnie the Pooh, because that expired. I'm trying to remember it doesn't matter. They wrote the author's name, but either way, they paid him, yada yada yada, and now there's going to be a Winnie the Pooh themed horror movie.
interesting.
Yes,
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down.
Game.
If it's gonna be that silly, I'm in. Mm-hmm. When people, it's not even good. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't
watch it.
It's
I would,
the idea.
I would watch a fan made
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh. So why wouldn't I watch like an actual budgeted Winnie the Pooh horror movie?
So real quick, the if this is the image that's in the movie, that's always what I thought. It was Ellie Kedward, the actual Blair Witch that they were talking about beforehand. That's always how I picture. So picture your typical depiction of a Salem witch, like with the furled clothes and black, like almost like a nun. Type get up, and that like, so if that was the one that I pulled up here in the movie,
very like Puritan-esque.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I always thought the Blair Witch looked like, just because of that part in the movie.
Right.
There's also the talk about season of the witch, and then that just kind of fogs things even further. Of like, is it all in their head? Is there actually a witch?
Yeah, I mean that's like. And that's one of the reasons why we love the sequel so much, because it's a movie about people who like the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is going to be more fun on video, but you guys ready for a story?
I'm ready for a story.
All right, so this is from the Haunted Places book. We heard from this last week with the Amityville horror or hoax. So this one I pulled up from, this book was printed, 92, 93? Anyway, this is called The Witch's Footprint.
Hey!
There we go.
The dying curse of a woman executed as a witch still haunts the grave of the evil man who falsely accused her and had her sentenced to death. Despite seances conducted by spirit mediums and scientific tests with the most sophisticated equipment available to parapsychologists, there you go, who study the occult sciences, no one has been able to eliminate the telltale imprint of the witch's foot from her persecutor's tombstone. Colonel Jonathan Buck was a colonial officer and an important and politically powerful citizen in the state of Maine, so prominent, in fact, that Bucksport, the village he founded, was named after him. But the exact details of the events surrounding the trial and legal lynching of Ida Black are hazy and have been lost by the passage of time since her tragic death during the late 17th century witchcraft hysteria in the New World. Although the men and women murdered by their neighbors in Salem, Massachusetts, are the most commonly remembered victims of the lethal religious hysteria that swept the colonies during the early years of the European settlement in America, many others also died at the stake, by the noose, or crushed by boulders piled on their pain-racked bodies in demented efforts to cleanse their souls of Satan and his demons. Ida Black was one of the innocent victims whose slaying would have gone virtually unknown if not for the agonized curse she pronounced on her tormentor moments before her death. Discarded mistress. According to some accounts, Ida was a beauty who had the misfortune of becoming the mistress of the arrogant and hard-headed Colonel Buck. When her looks began to fade and he tired of her, it said, he arranged to have her accused of witchcraft.
That sounds about right.
Defenseless against the enmity of her former lover, she was quickly convicted and condemned to death. But other tales claim that the victim of the black-hearted frontier bigwig was an unattractive crone who was typical of the victims selected for persecution during the wave of witchcraft hysteria. She was old, eccentric, lived alone, and was without friends or relatives to defend her. Still other legends paint the victim as an Indian woman whose husband had been shot in the back by Colonel Buck during a quarrel. According to some depictions from that era, Ida was burned at the stake, and her former lover personally ignited the wood piled at her feet. But according to most accounts handed down through the centuries, Ida Black was hanged. All the stories seem to agree as well that the last agonized words of the woman executed for witchcraft pronounced a terrible curse on the colonel. Quote, "Though you may slay me now, my colonel," she croaked, "I shall come back and dance upon your gravestone while you roast in hell." End quote.
Nice.
It was a powerful curse, uttered at a moment of extreme emotion and distress, and Colonel Buck didn't take it lightly. It haunted him throughout the remainder of his life, and members of his family shared his concern. When he died, they took special care to select a perfect stone that was unblemished in any way for his final memorial. They called in the most respected stonemason in the area to shape the stone and carve the name of the family patriarch. As expected, Jonathan Buck's tombstone was the finest of all those in the little cemetery. It seemed only proper after all. Then, on the anniversary of the accused witch's death, a curious thing occurred. The image of a woman's dancing foot and lower leg, first tinged with color of rust, then with bright red blood, began to form on the front of the surface of the once perfect stone. The good citizens of Bucksport were horrified, but none so much as the family survivors of the colonel. They ordered the stone sanded and cleaned, but the image remained, so they ordered the sanding to be performed again and again. Eventually the stone was sanded and cleaned more than a dozen times, but always the image returned within a few hours after the work was completed. At last, Colonel Buck's heirs gave up on the stone, ordered a new one erected in its place. A few days after the new tombstone was placed on his grave, the image of the woman's dancing foot began slowly forming once more. So the second stone was removed and replaced with another clean rock slab, professionally formed by the best available stonemason and inscribed with the colonel's name. Within a few days, the mystifying footprint had again formed on the new stone. This time, the family members had to concede they had had enough. They gave up. The third and final tombstone erected for Colonel Buck still stands in the cemetery at Bucksport today, with the enigmatic form of the dancing foot deeply etched into the front surface, directly under his name.
Wow.
I would like to see a picture of this.
I'd like to go find that.
So my initial is good on those stonemakers, because they were able to just keep getting this back and back. All right, well, we'll clean it again for you. We'll clean it again. It's probably the stonemaker that did it.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we're reading about it in 1991. I mean, we're reading about it in 2022.
Isn't that cool?
They're writing about it in 1991.
Yeah.
And what was it? 93. Okay. And it was what, 17 something?
The witch's the witch's footprint.
So that famous of a story. Everyone in town knew about this. So,
absolutely.
People are probably screwing with them.
Well, absolutely. The handprint in the old jail up in Jim Thorpe.
Oh yeah.
That's immediately what I thought was the handprint in Jim Thorpe. Have you guys both been?
I've seen the picture at your house.
Okay.
Your parents' house.
I am familiar. I have not been.
But I have not been to it.
Okay.
Because it's impossible to find parking there.
Yeah. Especially now. It's gotten worse and worse.
They've
Beautiful city.
Yeah.
What did they do? They put permit parking or something in there. It's bad.
That's probably really pretty good. I was actually talking. I think me and my wife might do it. There's a couple bed and breakfasts.
Yeah.
Right along. It's why don't we just do a little weekend?
Yeah, just
probably
get
not
away.
too expensive.
Yeah, depends on the time of the year.
Cute little town to walk around in.
It's gonna be more expensive in Christmas. It's gonna be more expensive around fall.
Yeah.
Dead of summer, they do a lot of kayaking, or not kayaking, whitewater rafting.
Launches out of there.
Yeah.
I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that is a good time. But you want to know fun thing about witches? I don't know if you saw, Steve. I know I sent it to Eddie. There's going to be a witchcraft store opening in Conshohocken.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would be all about checking that out. There's a really cool oddities and witchcraft store in Asbury Park.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only ever got to look in the window because we usually we'll go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because that's when the cheapest. And that's when the beaches are the less filled.
Yep.
And it's also when everything's closed.
Yep.
So everything closes by 3:00 in the afternoon on Sunday, and then
Yep.
yeah. But that's the shore.
So I'm more interested in what's going to happen with this store. So we're going to try and reach out to her so maybe we can talk. But
Get her on the show.
I'm a little weary, not weary. I don't know what, reluctant to, because there's some people that are very into Wiccan things where they're I don't want this, and I'm not horror movie.
I'm not a sideshow.
Yeah.
It's just and we do appreciate it every which way.
Yes.
So, hey.
No, but you're right. But I actually think I was speaking to it.
Yeah, you want to be respectful to some degree.
There's peeps up in Salem, real witches, Wiccan, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's no joke. It's just I know you like the stories, but we're not a sideshow here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is who we are. It's their religion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how they treat it. Anyway, on that note, hey, It's been a good time, fellas.
Yes, it has.
It's been a very good time. Steve, it's great having you. Come back again soon, which I'm probably going to ask. We'll probably ask you to come back again soon.
Sure.
Because like we said, we want to keep having more people on, so we'll hunt down Devin. We'll have Stacy back on.
Yep.
We got a lot of good things. A lot of good things in the works. Hey, there's Pumpkin. She's saying, hey, wrap it up,
Pumpkin's
boys.
saying time to wrap up, Joe. So I'm Eddie Kayaza. Find us all at Red River Horror, Instagram, Twitter, redriverhorror@gmail.com. Thanks, Steve, for being on.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yep, and you can find him at Keystone Retro, KeystoneRetro.com. I've been your host, Joe Zachresi. You can find me at Red River Joe. Send me your questions, suggestions, everything you got. And remember to keep traveling those channels of fear.